replacing your windows, your siding, or your roofing may be a bad idea. Hi, I'm Chris Novelli with N3 Architecture, and oftentimes when clients have me over to talk about a renovation or an addition project that they've been planning, I learn that sometime within the last year or two, they've replaced either their roofing, their siding, or their windows, or in some cases, all three. And my first thought is I'm always scratching my head and thinking, why? Why would somebody do this? Why would somebody who is thinking about undertaking a major renovation or addition project, why would they replace items such as your roofing, your siding, or your windows a couple years before? You know, because it's not like a major renovation or an addition project is just something that you think of on a whim. It's probably something that you've been planning for many years. So if you've been planning that major project, why would you go ahead with those minor replacement projects? And maybe people don't know. Maybe homeowners just don't know better. And they think that they can replace this piece now and that piece later, and they just don't understand how everything works together. So there are many problems with going about your renovation project piecemeal like that, like replacing your windows in year 1 and then replacing your roofing in year 2 and then replacing your siding in year 3, and then in year 6 you're undertaking a major renovation and addition project. There's many problems for doing it that way. The first and probably the most important is you run the risk of not being able to get the same materials. You run the risk of not being able to get the same windows or the same color roofing or the same color siding. And if you do get the same color, like let's take siding for an example. If you are able to get the same color siding from the same manufacturer, chances are the siding that you replaced 3 years ago has started to fade a little bit and it won't exactly match. You also run the risk of having materials or products or colors discontinued by the manufacturers. And this happens in construction products and materials. This happens more than you think. I mean, so many times I use a color siding on one project, and then 3 projects later, I want to use the same color, and I come to find that that manufacturer has discontinued that color, or they've changed the product line slightly, and they've changed this or that, and things just don't match up exactly. So if you've replaced your roofing or your siding with one material, and then 5 years later you want to try to have it all match so your house, you know, is the same color, well, then you might not be able to get that. And then on top of that, you might find issues with availability of certain products or certain materials. So again, it's just better to do it all at once. And if you're going to be planning the major project, do it all then. Another issue with replacing your roofing, siding, or windows is oftentimes the contractors that do that sort of work, the small replacement contractors that do that sort of work, they don't always use the best products or the best installation methods. And now a quick disclaimer to all the contractors out there who have undoubtedly just got mad at me. I 100% respect all the work that you do. I cannot do the work that you do, and many of you, many contractors out there are such great craftsmen and women, and they just care so much about their clients and their craft and doing the right thing. But it is true that there is a good number of small contractors that focus on replacement work that they do not use the best products or materials. They're looking to install and just sell you vinyl siding or vinyl windows or your asphalt roofing and just get in, get out, replace it. It looks great, it looks new, and they've done a good job and you're happy with it, but it might not be the best decision for your house, for your investment in the long term. Because I say it time and time again, it is more important to invest the most amount of money on your exterior envelope. And cutting corners on your windows and cutting corners on your siding and your siding installation or your roofing, that is not the place you want to cut corners. And it could lead to very bad results years down the line. But this also gets into the consumer mentality, right? We're sort of trained to look for the cheapest possible solution, right? The least expensive that looks the best. And how cheap can I get something done? But guess what? More often than not, the cheapest solution has the worst products. And your goal on anything envelope related, building envelope related, and again, that separates the inside from the outside, anything envelope related should not be the cheapest solution. It should be what is the best performance that you can actually afford. And you know, sometimes you run into the situation where you want to replace your windows. You know, maybe your windows are 15, 20 years old. So you call up a contractor and they come down and they give you a quote to install some replacement vinyl windows, and you think it's a good price, and you go ahead and do the work and it looks great. And little do you know that you've lost about 4 inches or 3 inches of window glazing. And you're getting less views, you're getting less light into your house, and then 5 years down the line, if you're replacing the siding, well, if you would have just waited and done the windows at the same time, you could have used new construction windows rather than replacement windows, and you could have had them installed like new construction windows because your siding's off, and they could have been flashed properly, and you wouldn't have lost that extra daylight. And on the siding side, rarely do you see one of these replacement contractors recommending a sustainable siding product that's installed over a vented rain screen system over a true weather resistance barrier. Most of the time, these replacement contractors want to install vinyl siding over Tyvek house wrap and then call it a day. And that's not the best solution. And again, it's not that these contractors don't care, it's more along the lines of they're just doing the same thing that they've been doing for 20 years and they're doing it on your project, and it's the consumer mentality of understanding only cost and not the performance and the material characteristics and that long-term value. And the next reason why you might want to hold off on this work is when you do the windows and siding and roofing as part of a larger project, you're going to get a better price because there's an economy of scale. So you're going to end up paying slightly less per window or slightly less per square foot of siding or slightly less per square of roofing than you would if you did one little section now and then the addition later. You do it all at once, you're going to get a better price. And then on top of that, when you're doing this work as part of a larger project, most likely you have a bit larger of a budget and maybe you've gotten some bank financing and instead of paying out of pocket. So in that case, you can afford to invest in the better materials and the better products. So unless your roof is leaking or there's major failures in these systems, whether it's your siding or your roofing or your windows, I would highly recommend, if you're even considering the possibility of a larger project in the future, just wait, just hold off a little while longer and spend your money once. And don't waste your money on inferior products. Just wait until you do the larger project, do it all at once. Everything will match, everything will be the same. You won't have half your house with windows from company A and the other half with windows from company B. You won't have roofing that is clearly different colors from different product manufacturers. You won't have siding that's faded on one area of the house and not faded on the other area of the house, or 2 different colors because the color couldn't be matched. Or in the worst case scenario, you won't have to rip out all those things that you replaced 2 years ago when you do the major project, because I've seen that happen too. I've seen homeowners replace siding or replace roofing, and then 2 or 3 years later, they're putting on a major renovation addition project, and they rip out the roof that they just put on 2 years ago, or they take down that siding that was just put on 2 years ago. Don't let that be you. Do the smart thing. If you're considering a larger project, just hold off on these items. Thank you.